This story time is why I stopped being friends with a girl because her dad was a pervert. And we're calling her Kim. So me and Kim became friends at school. Over time, we realized we lived close together. So she started coming over to my house and I started going over to hers. She had 5 brothers and she was the only girl. Whenever I'd come over to her house, I'd say hello to everyone, but her dad was always excited to see me. He'd immediately run and give me a hug. Over the past couple months, he'd give me a hug and a kiss on the cheek. He said that I was his new little girl. I felt uncomfortable with it, but I went and told my friend Kim, and she said, he's just glad you're here, and you're like family now. I was like, okay, I guess, and I would just ignore it. Thanksgiving come up, and I went over to her house for a plate. Her dad opened up the door and gave me a hug and a kiss as usual. I walked in the house, and he said, you need to eat to keep that booty plump. I laughed in nervousness, and he slapped and squeezed my butt. There's more that happened after this. Let me know if you guys want a part 2. This is part 2 of why I stopped being friends with the girl because her dad was a pervert. So remember how I told y'all I came over for Thanksgiving? Her dad slapped and squeezed my butt. I was weirded out, but I laughed to hide how nervous and anxious I was. After I get a plate of food and I sit down with Kim, I told her dad slapped my butt. And she was like, yeah, okay, as if she didn't believe me. So again, I ignored the situation. As the day goes on, everyone is playing board games, laughing, and eating desserts. I had cheesecake and I'm lactose intolerant. And you know how that went. I left the family for a few minutes and I go to the bathroom. When I was all finished, I opened up the door and there was Kim's dad just sitting there smiling at me. I was like, oops, my bad. You were probably waiting for a while. Here you go. And I tried to move out of the way, but then he says, I don't need to go to the bathroom. He pushes me back in by the hips and locks the door. It gets really bad after this. Y'all let me know if I should make a part. This is part 3 of why I stopped being friends with the girl because her dad was a pervert. So after her dad pushes me back into the bathroom and locks the door, he's sitting there smiling at me and I asked him very nervously if I did something wrong. He was like, yes, you haven't been spending time with daddy. And he likes to jiggle my breasts in a weird way. At this point, I was backing up because he starts acting weird. Then he starts unzipping his pants and gets closer to me. And guys, their bathroom wasn't that big. I immediately took the Windex that was on top of their toilet and sprayed it into his eyes and quickly ran out of the bathroom. After this, her dad starts yelling. While I'm coming downstairs, everyone asks what's going on. I told the whole family what Kim dad has done, and one of their little brothers yells at me, calling me a whore. I then went to Kim saying, you gotta believe me, that's what happened. She's like, my dad would never do anything like that. Her mom walks up to me and tells me that I should leave. I starts crying, and then her mom yells at me and tells me to go home. So I left and went home crying. After that, I never went back over to her house. This story time is about how my boyfriend exposed my nudes to everyone at school. By the way, we're calling him Keith. So I've been with my boyfriend Keith for 4 months. He seemed pretty cool and chill and very outgoing. He played basketball and was very popular in school. So when he started talking to me, I felt very special. But as time went by, he wasn't the guy who I thought he was. He was pretty self-entitled, cocky, and it got annoying. He expected everything to be handed to him. Anyway, throughout the relationship, he'd always ask for nudes, but I always tell him no because I'm not that type of girl to send any guy nudes. He'd always get mad at me and say couples are supposed to do that type of stuff, but I didn't give in. I'd always take pictures of myself because I liked my body, but I would never send them to anyone. One day, Keith comes over to my house. We chill for a little bit, and then my mom had called me. And then when I had came back, I saw him on my phone. When I snatched my phone from him, he sent the pictures that I took of myself and sent them to his phone. It get really reckless after this. This is part 2 of how my boyfriend exposed my nudes to everyone in school. So after Keith snuck into my phone and sent my nudes to himself, I got mad at him and told him to delete them. He tries to justify why he should keep them, but I say no because they were private. So then he shows me he's deleting them. After that, I kicked him out of my house for invading my privacy. Next day, I get ready for school. I text my boyfriend good morning as usual, but he didn't respond, which I thought was weird. When I get to school, everyone is staring at me. One of the basketball players at my school came up to me and said, you're wild. I was like, what? When I get to class, one of the girls sitting in front of the class said, girl, you're bold. And I'm still confused. When I sat down at my seat and I opened up my phone, I went through Snapchat, watching everyone's stories, and I saw my nudes on one of Keith's friend's story. After this, it gets terrible. This is part 3 of how my boyfriend exposed my nudes to everyone at school. So after I saw that Keith sent my nudes to one of his friends exposed my nudes on Snapchat. I got upset. When lunchtime hit, I came into the lunchroom and everyone was staring at me. One of my best friends came up to me and asked me if I posted my nudes online. And I told her no and explained what Keith probably did.
That lunchtime hit, and we went around searching for him, but he wasn't there. I didn't know what to do, but my friends tried to convince me to go to the counselor, but I was embarrassed, and I didn't want anyone to know about them or for them to tell my parents. I tried texting Keith on why did he do that, why did he send those people my pictures, but he just blocked me. I wasn't even sad about it no more, I just got upset. So I called my older brother about it, and I told him what Keith did. And he said he'd be at my school at the end of the day and that he'll handle the whole situation. So school ends and everyone is leaving out. Me and my best friend walk out together to meet up with my brother. When I get outside, all I see is my brother and his friends jumping Keith. It gets crazy after this. Let me know if you guys want a part 4. This is part 4 of how my boyfriend exposed my nudes to everyone in school. Like I said earlier, I was supposed to be meeting up with my brother after school, but I saw him and his friends jumping my boyfriend Keith. Everyone was crowded around him, and you can tell that Keith was getting it bad. His lip was busted, 2 black eyes, hands were bleeding, and his clothes were ripped up, and he had bruises on his legs and arms. And all his friends backed up, and the one who posted the nudes wasn't there. By the time I reached down to the crowd, the cops came, and I'm pretty sure it was probably because the school called. And I was trying to stop my brother and pull him off of Keith, but him and his friends just kept going at him. When the cops came storming in, they all hopped out of their cars. They screamed at everyone, telling everyone to back up. By the time they reached the center, they arrested my brother and his friends, and they had to get an ambulance for Keith. My brother tried to escape, but they tased him and he fell to the ground. At this point, it gets really sad. To be honest, I don't even think y'all actually want to know what happened after that, but let me know down below.
This is part 5 of how my boyfriend exposed my news to everyone in school. So after the fight broke up, the cops were called and they arrested my brother and his friends, but Keith had to get an ambulance. Afterwards, I went home and my friends came with me. At this point, I had to tell my parents. They were really disappointed, but they weren't hard on me. They ended up going to my school, talked to my counselors and all the teachers about it, which was very embarrassing for me. They brought in one of the students, who was Keith's friend, that actually posted the pictures. Some other stuff went down, but we were able to press charges. As for my brother, my parents bailed him out. But Keith tried pressing charges against my brother, but since I was already pressing charges against him for exposing my pictures, he ended up having to drop the charges because it was too much going on. Some other stuff went down in between, but it's too much to explain. But at the end of it all, I won the case. Keith and his friends ended up having to leave the school, and of course I broke up with Keith, but my news will forever circle around the internet. This story time is about how my best friend almost got kidnapped. By the way, we're calling her Aaliyah. So back in the summer, Aaliyah was talking to a guy she met through Instagram, and she was talking to him for about 2 months, but they never actually met up. Aaliyah really liked him, and they planned a day when and where they go out to meet. The guy she was talking to asked if she wanted to come over to his house to chill. By the way, we're calling him Isaiah. And he wasn't far, so Aaliyah came to me and asked if I wanted to come with her. And I couldn't have her go alone if she was nervous, so I told her I'd go. So the day come, and we go around 7, 8 o'clock. When we get to Isaiah's house, he welcomes us in. And when we walked into the living room, there were like 20 guys all around his house. We're so confused because Isaiah never mentioned that there would be other company. We sat down on his couch and everything was fine. We played games with everyone, which was pretty chill, until one of Isaiah's friends sat next to me and rubbed on my leg and asked me to come upstairs with him and another guy. It gets really crazy after this. Let me know if you guys want a part 2. This is part 2 of how my best friend almost got us kidnapped. So after we get to Isaiah's house, there's like 20 guys walking around his place. We start playing games, and I say after 2 hours, one of Isaiah's friends sit next to me and rub my legs and asked me to come upstairs with him and another guy. I immediately push him and told him to stop touching me. He gets up and grips me up like I'm some sort of rag doll, saying I disrespected him. And my body just reacted, so I slapped him in the face. My friend Aaliyah gets up and kicks him and tells him to get away. He got mad and walked away and told other guys in the room that we were weird. I was so mad, and I told Aaliyah I was ready to go and that everyone is acting sus. She says okay, so Aaliyah walks to Isaiah and she tells him we're about to go. He asks her for what, and she explains that I feel uncomfortable. He laughs and says that we're not going anywhere and that him and his boys were getting laid tonight. Y'all let me know if y'all want a part 3. This is part 3 of how my best friend almost got us kidnapped. So Aaliyah tells Isaiah that we're ready to go, and he basically said that we can't leave and that him and his friends were getting laid tonight. Aaliyah says, well, you better call up some hoes because we're leaving. So we gather up our things and tried to walk out, and Isaiah yanked Aaliyah's leg, and when she fell, Isaiah jumped on top of her saying that we can't go anywhere, and all the guys start crowding around us. So I kicked Isaiah in the head and pulled Aaliyah up to go, and she's like, run. So we're running, and a couple of guys start chasing after us. One of them were really fast and catches up to us. He picks me up and starts taking me back to Isaiah's house, and I'm sitting there punching and kicking and screaming. That's all the time I have. Let me know if you guys want a part 4.
My fiancé and I are getting married this September. The issue lies with the dress code. We have been clear from the beginning that this is going to be a white tie event, so of course there are strict rules attached to that. One thing we are really looking forward to is our wedding shoot. We have spent a large amount of our own money on a photographer. The photographer is highly sought after in our area, and we were lucky to book him last year in advance, so naturally we are taking this seriously. The invitations we sent explicitly told our guests what we would be expecting from them. White tie, no unnaturally dyed hair, no visible tattoos or piercings, and that they were free to decline the invitation if they had a problem with this. We also sent everybody who RSVP'd a reminder over email several weeks ago repeating this instruction. This was going to be fine until one of our mothers has recently posted on Facebook a picture of a cocktail-style dress she wants to wear on the day. Of course, this is